You lost for words?
Welcome to a new video. If you haven't checked it already, go over to McCann64 on an Instagram page because it is different content to this, so well worth a visit. So today, the BMW M3. Now there's always been a big argument about which generation is the best, but if we're going on sound alone, there is only one to go for. Please be upstanding for the E92 M3. To be honest, I've always been a Merc fan, especially the C63 and especially the Black Series. But then I drove one of these M3s. I had no idea just how good they were. And they was that good that I bought this one. Now let's start with the massive high, the V8 4-litre engine. Probably the best engine BMW have ever made in the M3, the loudest, the most aggressive. Unfortunately, it only went into this generation. So if you have got one of these, you are burning a big hole in the ozone layer, so it's probably best you go plant a couple of trees to make yourself carbon neutral. This is a 4-litre V8, 415 brake horsepower, monster engine, which is naturally aspirated. So 2010-ish was a great time for engines. Not a lot of turbos, twin turbos, superchargers, just a great big fat bold engines. These things had huge barrels and pistons the size of baked bean tins. So let's step back into the old school BMW generations. The E30 4-cylinder, the E36 6-cylinder, the E46 6-cylinder, which you've already seen, and this, the E92 V8. And then all the turbo stuff. I do get it, we need to save those polar bears. We've got to think of the future generations, so we've got to use sun, steam, electric, whatever it is, to help save this beautiful planet. But it does feel a little bit like the fun police have taken away this noise which we all grew up with. So please comment below on which M3 generation is your favourite. It would be really interesting to find out which one gets the most votes. So this car was really looked after by its former keeper. It lived in a nice heated garage. It's only got 2 owners, which for some reason makes a big difference to the resale value. But then the first owner might have been a really bad one. But I suppose it's like your partner. The less people which have had a go and owned it, the better. BMW have always been renowned for being a people pleaser. Their range is excellent. We've got the automatic, which no longer is SMG. In this, it's a dual clutch. We've got the manual, perfect for doing donuts and burnouts. And to be fair, something the BMW salesman should have told you this when you bought it. We've got the convertible, great for our 3 days of summer, and then we've got the coupe, which I stand more chance of survival when I roll it. So this is a manual coupe, and probably my favourite, and probably the people's favourite, because the second-hand values confirm that. So let's take a look around this, because it is extremely beautiful. Firstly, the bonnet with that big bulge. It looks a lot like when you wear your grey joggers. And next, the 19-inch CSL wheels. They are an aftermarket part and not original, but they do look really, really nice, especially the red brake calipers as a contrast. This has actually got a big brake kit, which is really good because the M3 E92 did suffer with weak brakes. And really pleasing to the eye is the 3-door, much better than the current 5-door versions. And the mirrors, a simple 10 out of 10. And these fake vents, they are really nice looking. And the wheel extensions, they're angry but subtle, and it does give it a really, really nice wide stance. And then this very beautiful carbon roof, obviously trying to get the centre of gravity lower, trying to offset that big V8 lump. And on the rear end, these beautiful lots of exhausts. And this actually has got a carbon kit and this lovely carbon spoiler. And in the boot, a really, really nice touch. You pull this handle and the seats go down. It turns into a double bed. Hi Jane. More carbon at the front, which is part of that extra pack. The BMW kidneys, but then we get to the real special part. What's under here is revolutionary and loud. The S65 V8 4-litre, 400 newton meters of torque. But unfortunately, this drinks more liquid than an Irishman on St. Paddy's Day, but worth every penny of your pocket money. And this engine is definitely a shower, not a grower. And that is why this big bulge is there. The engine is way higher than the wing line. 0 to 60, 4.3 seconds, but remember this is 15 years old. But to give you some relevance, this is why it's so good. The E46 had 333 brake horsepower, and this E92 jumped up to 414, that's 82 brake horsepower extra. The F80 only went up 10 more after that, to 425. That's why this was such a big lump. Unfortunately, you can't see a lot of this engine because of all these plastic covers. Motorsport badge in those colours, really nice. But one touch which I haven't noticed on the car before is this stamped M3 badge. Really nice touch. So that's enough about talking about this because it'll do talking for itself in a bit. Let's have a look at the interior. It's obviously got really long doors, and to get to the seatbelt, you need Mr. Tickle Arms, but not here. Clunk, click, and it delivers back into its place, ready for next time. Lovely. And the same here, lovely German engineering, with this cup holder being delivered on a beautiful arc. Inside here is a really nice space, and for me, this black leather is the best colour combination. The seats are holding up well at the minute, but we do know that's one thing which isn't going to last for the future. They will unfortunately end up looking like your granny's face. An odd one for me this, but this centre armrest split into two. I have no idea why, but if you do know, please comment below. The only thing I can think of is they had some leftover leather, trying to save money. The next odd one is this climate control, or digital. You can adjust it obviously with all these buttons, but then you can override it with this analog dial. Really odd. Maybe BMW were trying to please those people who don't like change. A little bit dated near, but that's because of its age. No Apple CarPlay, obviously. 6-speed manual, love a bit of that. Manual handbrake, power button for extra throttle response, and my favourite button, traction off. But the car hasn't got faith in me. Traction off, traction off, traction off. A lot of warnings there. Don't worry, I have this under control. Really nice matte silver dash here, and the black. Really, really nice, great contrast. And I know this isn't all about collecting cars, but for me, resale value is important. This car has got loads and loads of history. Try keep all those receipts from over the years. It will make the car worth a lot more money. So enough chat, let's get this started, do a bit of a drive and listen to this noise. So we're on our way to our favourite donating area, courtesy of Desert IDS. So this is a big fat engine and a fairly simple car. You know, this was the last of the V8s, the only V8 of the generation. The E46, lovely power to weight ratio when we tried that out the other week, really enjoyed that. But this is a lot faster, a lot more modern, which is why they've got so many miles, because it is a commute car. You know, you wouldn't want to be going to work every day. You'd want to be working from home and only part-time, otherwise you wouldn't be able to get any wages left at the end of the week. But yeah, it's a lovely car. Not a hypercar, not a supercar, sports car, but it does everything you want it to. So V8 rear wheel drive equals a lot of fun. It weighs in at 1660 kg, so it's definitely not light, but obviously that's because we're carrying that big lump around, and I don't think that carbon roof's going to make much difference compared to that. You can see why these cars have high mileage, because it is a great commute car. It does everything. It's a nice gentle drive, or you can rev it and go somewhere fast and make a lot of noise. So one thing about this car, it's got hydraulic steering, and you can tell that because there's a big resistance to go off centre. I do prefer electronic steering personally, which is pretty much the opposite to what I say about most cars. But I don't feel like I need to feel that connection through the steering wheel as much because I can feel it through my feet. Oh, you bugger. Well, that's woken up all the owls. Morning. Now 8,400 revs, let's see what that sounds like. $8,700 on the limiter. So suspension wise, it's always going to be a bumpy ride. It's a sports car. You know, there's not a lot of body roll and you do feel the bumps, but you know, you bought an M3. That's what you've signed up for. So like I said earlier, you know, I've always been a Mercedes man. And with these M3s, it really is, until you've driven one, you just don't know how good they are. I didn't know. And I've heard so much hype about these cars. When you get in it, you smile and you think to yourself, this is better than the Merc. The one thing about the M3, it can be a little bit dangerous. Traction off, big engine, it can get a bit sketchy. That's not even the corners, even the straights. You know, the Merc was good, but this is a different level. And this isn't, you know, I'm no rally driver, but this is just simple to go around in donuts. And you can commute, you can go to work and back. And I'd get to work fast if I was in this. So the E30 has such a cult following now. Unless you're a millionaire, you haven't got one in the garage. Unless you were lucky enough to have bought one before the big boom. Well done you. But shame on you for not giving me the heads up. And the E46, that's also going the same way now. I've jumped on the bandwagon, maybe you should too. A great power to weight ratio. And then we come to the E92. It's because of what's under that bulge. I actually sound like the commentator on a 100-metre race. This, because of the rod bearings, it's a little bit more unreliable, but that doesn't make it unreliable, just less reliable. If it breaks, the smiles will last longer than the tears it brings. And all being well, you will make money on the car anyway, so there's nothing to lose. The servicing, the repairs, everything's expensive, but hopefully this will be better than money in your bank. I don't want to sound like Martin Lewis because I'm not clever enough. But for me, these cars, like I said, are about investments. If you are lucky enough to have that spare cash and you're not into ISAs and not into pensions, then maybe this is the way forward to you. Thank you for watching again. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.